So, I would like to begin this podcast by welcoming you first. Welcome to our show, respected Madam Satyabhama Ashley-Farrand. And I would like to first ask you this question. Is mantra chanting really effective? I get a lot of questions with low patience that does it actually work? I want to know your thoughts about it.
Namaste. Glad to be with you. Mantras work. And the issue is karma, which is blockage. I mean, it works that way. So if you're chanting mantra and you can chant enough to ameliorate enough karma in that particular area, then you can achieve what you want to. But Indians know, Americans don't know, that it could take a number of lifetimes to clear it, depending on what it is, where it is, if you're doing the right mantra for what your goal is. And Namadeva's story about that was about a man who had a business and he wanted to have more business. So he started chanting Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha. And he did it 125,000 times. No result. So then he did it another 125,000 times. No result. He said he knew that the fault was with him, his karma. We did it a third 125,000 times. And then he called Namadeva Acharya to tell him that he had so much business he didn't know what to do with it. Perseverance. And, I get sometimes emails from people who are just starting, and they want to know why they've chanted for half a week or a week and they don't feel different. But the most important thing to know about mantras is that we are made of sound, units of sound. Mantras are units of sound, patterns of sound that work. 50 sounds, 50 spokes on the chakras, 1 through 6. And if you chant the pattern that the great sages put together because they were seers of mantra, they could see in your aura what it was doing for you. Was it beneficial? Was it going to work for this or for that? And if you do them and understand that, tiny bits of karma are dematerialized, I guess, each time you chant a mantra. And so you just have to be patient. They do work. I have a story about how they worked in a different way. This is my Chamundi story, where I was sitting in a very contentious business meeting, and there were 3 or 4 guys in there who were supposed to do the technology of putting together a radio show, and I was to do content. And they were sitting bickering with each other. And after about 45 minutes, I was just really frustrated and bored. So I just started chanting my favorite Chamundi. Om Aim Hreem Kleem Chamunda Ye Viche Namaha. Om Aim Hreem Kleem Chamunda Ye Viche Namaha. Cutting through, Viche. And within 5 minutes, they all of a sudden got peaceful, started talking with each other, started arranging what they were going to do, and we went in the other studio and put it together. That's potent 5 minutes.
Wonderful. Very nice.
I mean, 5 minutes after I had previously chanted thousands of them. Certainly enough for a mantra city. But, I didn't do it for that purpose. I did it because I love it.
Okay. So coming to your next question, madam, I have seen at your website that you're offering a mantra certificate program. That sounds very interesting and useful. Can you please tell us something about that?
It's a mantra teacher program. So it's supposed to be a self-study, but it's a good idea to study with other people. It's a lot of information. Namadeva, who taught at university, would say it's a full year's worth of information of classes, a whole year at college level. And what it is a tremendous amount of information about mantras, various mantras, and what purposes they're good for, so that at the point you have taken the exam and become certified, then you would have clients and you would be giving the mantras. So they would say, what mantra should I do for I have a problem with obstacles? And you would give them a Ganesha mantra. I mean, there's more than one Ganesha mantra that removes obstacles, so that might be a choice of which one. Or they need prosperity, so a mantra sadhana of, like a 40-day sadhana of Om Shri Mahalakshmiye Namaha, like that other guy did. There are other ones, particularly Rama mantras for healing. And there are a number of mantras that some of the Jyotishis don't even seem to know. I mean, they would know the mantras, but they don't seem to prescribe them anymore. If somebody has problems with their ligaments, tendons, skin, spleen, their back, but not the bones, that's Saturn. I know this because I have Saturn rising, and those are my issues. And you would do a Saturn mantra. And interestingly, Namadeva's favorite Saturn mantra was Om. That's not the one I chant all the time, so I have to think how it starts. Om Shaneshwaraya Swaha. Om Shaneshwaraya Swaha. With a W in there. Om Shan. That one is good for spiritual purposes. And it took him years to get the information that it was actually the Mula mantra, Om Shri Shaneshwaraya Namaha. I can chant that and immediately start to feel better with all those back issues. So there are all of these different, it's not you, I mean, because Rahu and Ketu don't have mantras for the different parts of the body. It's the other 7 planets or aspects of planets that you can chant for certain healing purposes. Or if you add the beaches with it, you can actually chant those mantras of different planets for spiritual purposes as well.
Okay. So it is 1 year long. Teaching program. It will start today. I'll complete it next year on 1st June.
Probably not. It's a self-study program.
All right.
And so it's a mountain of material. Mm-hmm. And most people have so many other things in their lives that they don't follow through with it in enough time to do it in a year. I have had maybe 1 or 2 people do it in a year, but I just had somebody decide that they were going to start doing it and contact me again, somebody who had bought the program about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And now she wants to start doing it. And, it's a lot of material. It's a lot of material to memorize.
So do I have to write some examination to qualify that, yes, today I have become a mantra teacher? Like I go through all the courses, I complete.
Yes. It's a big exam that Namadeva said it's like having not a semester exam, but a whole year exam, that much material. And it's part oral questions and part written. Kind of true, false, fill in the blank. And then there's some other questions that have to do with if you get a client and he or she has this thing going on and that thing going on and the other thing going on and in her life, his life, what mantras would you prescribe?
All right.
And then you have to know several mantras that relate to what they've said. And I tell people, because people typically don't memorize the planets that well. So I tell everybody when they start, you have to really know the planetary mantras and what parts of the body they're good for and when you need to chant those or how you would prescribe those. And they're not, that's one of the simpler things that are in there, but you actually have to know them.
All right. So what about the Pujari course? Can you talk something about that as well?
Well, I have recently made the exam more difficult because, well, it has 3 books, and volume 1 and volume 2, which are each over 200 pages.
Okay. So are you talking about mantra teaching right now? Are you talking about mantra teaching right now or Pujari?
I'm talking about the Pujari course.
Okay, all right.
So the first 2 volumes are an introduction really to Hinduism, Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, goddesses, gods and goddesses, Hindu philosophy, and a whole lot of stuff, which includes some mantras and shlokas, and there are some stotras in there. And then the 3rd volume, which is just under 500 pages, is a whole lot of pujas. So it's the cookbook approach. You open the book to the puja you want to do, and you just start reading it and doing it. And you obviously you have to know, but it says there, now you pour water, now you do this, now you clean it up after you've done the water and get ready for the stotra and the offerings, and it's in there like a cookbook. It tells you everything to do. And there's a few of them that are not in there, but there's a template in the beginning that tells you how to fit the information into the template and make a puja. So I did that. That's why the book is larger, because Namadeva had put all of the astotras, 9 astotras for the different planets in, I think it's volume 2, and never made a puja out of it. And he was, I'm a little in this book and a little in this book, and he's doing. And I went, this is ridiculous. So I made a whole puja. I took the template and I put in all the astotras and everything so that you would have, I lost you.
You can't hear me?
No, I can hear you. I just messed up my screen. There it is. Okay. So I put in, and he had not, Gayatri is the main mantra for our lineage, long Gayatri in particular, but he had not put together a Gayatri puja, which is one of the shorter ones. So I put it together. So you can just open the book and do a Gayatri puja.
So suppose I have questions about the mantra teaching program and the Pujari course program. So how can the students go back to asking questions? What is the mode of teaching? I mean, I am self-taught, but there are several times when you have some questions to ask. So how would a student sitting in India ask the teacher? Is there any forum for that?
Yeah, I do provide a few, not long. You can call me with questions. And also, but that of course is why it's very good to have people you study with. Yeah, and most of that happens when people put together a study group online, because it's scattered around the world actually. And then what's difficult, I discovered that contrary to what had been going on originally with Namadeva, where most of the people that were coming to his workshops were the people were there learning tremendous amounts of information from the Puranas and mantras and stotras, and so that they had some background. People who have no background will buy the Pujari course and try to just do it themselves. They can't really pronounce it right. They really don't get it. And they don't really learn. They don't have an impetus for learning all the material that's in volume 1 and 2. So they have a Hindu. They know something. And so I now made there's 2 parts to the exam. One is a written part, a long written part about all kinds of stuff that's something from every chapter in all those chapters. That's roughly 600 pages, 700 pages of information. Mind you, it's large type.
All right.
And so they have to know something about what Hinduism is and what the philosophy is and what the gods and goddesses are and various things like that, and spit it out on the exam. And then on the exam for the puja part, I don't usually give that exam. Bharata, who lives in Massachusetts, usually gives that exam. People go to his house, and he has also classes, because you have to take a class in how to do puja. Because how are you going to learn how to do puja if you've never even been to one? That's happened. I mean, So that puja exam, you're given a puja that the teacher tells you to do, Bharata. And then you have one that you pick out of the book that you want to do. And if you're competent, you pass that part of the exam. It's just, for you, it would be a cakewalk. You have all this background and you're familiar with puja, but it's like jumping into a different entirely culture and language and ritual for Americans and other English-speaking people, because we have people who are students in Australia and New Zealand and Britain and Canada, mostly.
Thank you for this information. I want to know your views on Kundalini, madam. Kundalini. Kundalini. Can you hear me?
Well, there it is at the bottom of the spine.
How? Yeah, I'll let you.
My views on it. Let's see. It's not a thinking thing, if you know what I'm saying. It's energy that resides, Shakti energy that resides at the base of your spine. And it provides the energy for you to, if you unlock it with mantras and shlokas and pranayama and kriya, breathing, various methods, it will be the energy that comes up your spine and helps you to clear out your chakras, usually 7 levels of each chakra, 1 chakra, 2 chakra, 3, it's a lifetime's journey until you get to the 6th chakra, the 3rd eye. And then there's a little bit more you have to do, I'm told, to really get to enlightenment, to be residing at the 7th chakra, to be enlightened.
So how does a person will differ? For example, there are 2 people, person 1 and person 2. And if person 1 has his Kundalini activated. So how would he feel different in general life? Like when he goes through the day, does he feel more energetic? Does he feel more peaceful, more healthy? How does it make a person different when his or her Kundalini has awakened towards his health, his emotional wellness, as compared to a person whose Kundalini is not awakened?
Right. So if it's not working, they're not in touch with that energy, and they may not be in touch with a lot of what's going on in the spiritual universe.
Okay.
Somebody who has the Kundalini awakened, is not necessarily a very spiritual person in this life. So, there's a lot of answers for that. They could have the Kundalini awakened. They could use it for that energy for purposes of controlling other people. There are a lot of, Namadeva wrote quite a bit about that, about certain CEOs of corporations, how they, especially the guy, one of the more originating guys of General Electric, that he had absolute control of everybody and they were terrified of him. Why? Because he could control that Kundalini energy and he scared them on purpose. They didn't make him a good guy. So, and of course, our guru, Sadguru Sant Keshavadas, told Namadeva one time when he was complaining about how terrible things are in the world and some particular incident, political incident or world incident, not a personal incident. And Guruji said to him, Namadeva, the other side has their gurus too. So, but otherwise, the person who's been working diligently, spiritually, who has awakened their Kundalini in whatever method they're using, whether they're using Kundalini yoga, they're using Kriya, pranayama, they're using mantras. I mean, there's a lot of ways, right? And they're doing it for spiritual purposes, then they're working on pulling it up and clearing their chakras and getting past the sixth chakra. And it can give them a lot of energy to do that. And in fact, if they don't do that, they're not going to get too far. And then, of course, we women have access to our Kundalini because of the procreative force. There's no way that we could carry babies, protect babies without that Kundalini force while we're pregnant and taking care of our babies. And men are not normally aware of the Kundalini. They have a harder time opening it up. And for them, more Kundalini yoga, more regular yoga is more necessary. And then, we all do the same things otherwise, but they have a harder time with it because they don't have it naturally. And people in certain cultures, the women have access to it pretty much all the time. Probably the Devi worshippers, the Devi path, if they were raised that way. But I have noticed that many African American women and African women have much more, it's just part of them, period. It's part of their culture. I mean, the unspoken culture that where you imprint off your mom. That is much more part of what they have than anybody who has any kind of Anglo upbringing. Because Anglo is very good at squashing it. Spoken by a person who went to school in the 1950s and had a number of British teachers. So, I'm familiar with the culture of repression. Like it's not good to be emotional. It's not good to have your emotions. You have to be very restrained, British style. Every person in England is like that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, fine. So I have one
So,
last question. Yeah,
go ahead. I'm just going to say Kundalini is very important. It's very important to try to awaken. Namadeva did put together a mantra meditation for awakening the chakras. And so it's done entirely with bringing the energy up by chanting certain mantras. And he has this great voice, so he talks you right through it. And that's a very gentle way of doing it. And so many people are afraid what will happen if they work with their Kundalini or, God forbid, their third eye gets opened. But this is very gentle, just very gentle.
Okay. So I have one last question for you. So, I am a senior person, and usually people turn towards chanting mantras and spiritual practices when they have reached a certain age in their life. So, can you recommend any mantra for people who are very young, let's say teenagers or in their early 20s, who can just do some mantra for well-being or to be very good in their studies? Can you recommend any mantra, small mantra for young girls who are, let's say, 12 years old, not people who are?
Parents will usually chant for the children Om Shrim Ganeshaya Namaha and the Lakshmi mantra for children, right? For their education. No, Saraswati mantra for children. And so when they get older and they're chanting for themselves, it's more likely that they need the Ganapati mantra for obstacles. By the time they get to be 12, they're in the world and there's always obstacles. And then also the Saraswati is still good for education purposes, music, art, all the things they may be getting into. But also I would recommend the simple Lakshmi mantra.
Okay.
And other than that, I think that a lot of people get a lot of good benefits from chanting Om Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Om Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. Om Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. And kids of that age can also do the writing it in a book. So it gets into your muscles and into your active body by writing it.
Oh, writing is also good. Okay.
Guruji and Mother had hundreds of people writing it. And then when the ashram that's outside Bangalore was being finished, you've seen that platform where the Vijaya Vitala stands.
Yes.
There are still places in the back of that black slate platform that are like postal slots. And you can put your mantras, your books of mantras down there. That place is full of that mantra because of that, because so many people did that. But that's very good. And and kids get bored too, so they might as well do something like do the mantra on a piece of paper.
Wonderful. So, is there anything you want to tell to our viewers? Anything at all about mantra meditation? You're most welcome. Or anything you want to talk about your life in general? It's up to you.
I think that really meditation is very popular. And many people are doing silent meditation. Many people are doing Buddhist types of meditation, looking at a candle, whatever. And even Hindus are not doing mantra meditation. They've gotten distracted by the others. Nothing wrong with any of the others, but they're missing the benefit of the sound work in their bodies. We know we use ultrasound, we use sound, it's not even ultra for medical. We use sound for a lot of stuff. And we need to use sound through whether you're doing bhajans, kirtan, or just chanting. We need to take advantage of that benefit because everybody from India has that heritage, or at least heard of it, even if they have a different religion.
Okay.
So that's my word for the wise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all this wonderful information you have given us. Thank you for
Thank you
coming to
so
our
much
show.
for asking me. I appreciate it, Anuradha. Take good care.